Okay, let's actually get started. In this section, we're going to strip the piece down before we do anything else to it. I suggest you take a picture of your piece, if you haven't already, before you start. It's really great to have a before picture and an after picture, and it's far too late once you've actually started doing it. And a lot of times you kick yourself because to see that what you've achieved at the end is really, really rewarding if you've got the old picture to compare it to. Let's get the tools. Now, in my essential guide, there are top 10 tools, but actually I think there's probably 4 that I'd suggest are essential for dismantling your furniture if you really want to keep it down to, the bare essentials. And that would be, there's a Phillips screwdriver, or crosshead, and a flathead screwdriver. And this is called a screw puller. And that has a little pronged toe on it, and then you can actually push that underneath screws, use it under staples. Really handy, really inexpensive, fantastic for when you're trying to pull apart an old piece of furniture. Because not forgetting that these pieces of furniture were never meant to be pulled apart, so we often have a little bit of a challenge in our hands to do that. And then the other one is a pair of pliers, just a regular pair of pliers. I actually have a little set of jewellery pliers there, which are handy because they're obviously much smaller and easier to sort of get a grip on something little. But a regular pair, I'll use those for this. And actually, you may have seen in the guide to tools that I use an electric screwdriver. So for anybody who's planning to do a lot of furniture, I wholeheartedly recommend these because, as you'll see when we go through the process, if you have got doors, a cabinet in your piece, you will be finding that you'll be putting the doors on and off quite a few times through the process of stripping them down, of designing them, of top coating them. So these can save you a lot of time and effort. But you do need traditional screwdrivers as well. With these being old pieces, the screws very often can be a little bit tight to get out. So it does help to have something that you use manually and it doesn't go too fast. So I will start with, and the 4th tool is this one. Now mine's had a bit of a life. It's usually a nice sort of shiny silver. This is a 5-in-1 tool. Again, very cost effective. Has a really nice thin edge. It's sort of chamfered and really good for getting underneath things to prise them. I actually use that for stripping as well, probably why it looks like it does, but that fits underneath things and helps you sort of lift them. So those screwdrivers, screw puller and the pliers, really, really useful for this stage. Right, let's get inside. First things first, might come across these little sort of shiny dome things inside your furniture and wonder what they are. And the very first time I came across them, I didn't actually know that they came off, but they do. The official name is domes of silence, but I call them bolt covers as well, or nut covers. And you just want to get in underneath it. That's why something with this very thin edge that's quite sort of firm is quite good at helping lift those. I'm going to try and concentrate on that so I don't hurt myself. Just lift that up a little bit. That helps to get in. I think that one might actually come off by itself. And then I can use my screw puller, which has got a bit more of a loft on it, to actually gently get that off. And it's got little teeth that embed into the wood. And all it does is make the inside of the handle, where there's a little nut there, look a bit neater and a bit more finished. So you'll find that on the inside of quite a lot of furniture of this age. Let's just do this one the same, because this one might take a little bit more effort. Try not to gouge the wood, just trying to find little gaps to get in there really. Just prise it. And then maybe use this one. Just gently. I have to work my way around it so that I'm not bending the teeth too much. There you go. Then what I do, suggest do something similar. I have a lot of frog tape boxes. For my masking tape is I put all my bits into these old boxes and label them up so that I don't lose things. Next thing, I need to find a pair of pliers. is to get these actual nuts off. And that's just, I think that one is actually already quite loose, so we'll just get that one off by hand. I'll do this one. Just be careful not to put your fingers in the middle of the pliers, because you can give yourself a nice little pinch. Just says, and I'll just, you might need to hold your handle. I think these ones aren't going to spin. I think these might be glued. Find that some things are glued as well as bolted together. And if so, you could just use the thin blade. I think this one, actually, no, it might need me to. You can just pop that down the gap and just give it a swift blow, and that will crack the glue, and it usually pops off. But I don't think mine needs that. Does it? Seems to be a combination of, there we go. Oh, mine's got little pegs in it which have made a bit of damage in the door there, which is, these things happen. This is what I mean about the resilience that you need to just think, okay, I need to fix that now. Get that out. Put that in the box, although I'm not going to be keeping my handles. They could be painted in metallic if you wanted to, you know, reuse them. I just think they might be a little bit heavy for this particular piece. And then I'll go and do the same in here for each of those. A consideration at this point is, do you want to think about filling those holes? Have you got handles in mind? Perhaps, often with this sort of shape of handle, you'd have two bolts through it, and you'd have 2 holes. So you'd have to think about, do you want to source handles with the same gap between the bolts, or I'm very fortunate, I've only got 1 hole, so that means I can easily get basically a knob type of handle to fit on there. So I'm going to leave mine exactly as they are, but this is a point to be thinking about. Do you want to fill those in to take the new handles? So I'd go ahead and do the same for all of the drawers in here as well. Take all of the handles off, take all of the drawers out, and all of the old things that you find inside out as well. The other thing I need to now do is take off all the fittings, all the catches and clasps, because they're going to get in the way when I'm preparing the piece, making it look nicer inside, but they're also going to get in the way when I want to paint things. So you want to get as much of the fittings off as possible. If I use my little screwdriver here, I'm just going to look for the right shaped. That's where sometimes those go a little bit too fast. You can get those screwdriver bits for those electric screwdrivers that fit on drills. And with a drill, you've got different speeds. But the problem is it's the weight of holding a drill. So I'm just going to see if I can just get that one going by itself with a regular screwdriver. Okay. Now this particular fitting, which is rather nice, has got rounded top screws. So what I could actually do, if I wanted to, just so I can remember which screws go with which, I could actually take a little bit of masking tape and just put them together. You can do this with, if you've got more complicated fittings like arms in bureaus and that sort of thing, or maybe light fittings, and just tape the pieces together so that you know which one they belong to, because at the end of the day you could have a box full of screws at the end and not know which are which, because they often are different sizes for different things. I'll just go ahead and do this lower lock. Similarly, you could even write on the masking tape which side things come from, you know, which side particular catches, because there can be a little bit of variance, especially these pieces are old, they've been used a lot, and you'll find that sometimes things, maybe the catch lines up differently on one side than the other, so that might help you put things back together at the end. Next thing, I'm going to take off the actual doors themselves so that I can actually start to work on preparing it properly. It's not so easy while it's actually attached, and it stops me getting into the cabinet. So I'm just going to take the hinges off. Now these are in pretty good condition. Sometimes you find that the screws are ground out a little bit, and that's why I would suggest going to that kind of screw. And if you're finding that the solution is to push in as much as you can into the groove, very occasionally you might have to drill with a metal drill bit out an old screw, unfortunately. But the idea would be to use an old-fashioned screwdriver, can't get it in there, and to push as you go in. If you're finding it's not turning easily, put some pressure on it. If it really won't move, the option is then to do the same thing, but actually turn it the opposite way, which is counterclockwise, which can break the thread of the screw and then help you get it out. Right, now I've got both the doors off, I'm just going to take the hinges off completely. It just makes things a lot easier. We don't get product all over the hinge, and you can also get to the surface here much more easily with that out of the way. There are times that you just simply can't get things off. You might find there's a handle you can't get off or a lock you can't get off, sometimes little pieces. So if you have to, at a pinch, masking tape around things, then that's fine. You know, it happens. But you do get a better effect if you can take as much off the piece as possible. I've got a little problem here actually. So let's just see how to tackle that. This screw, I can't get it out. It's just going round and round and round. So I'm going to use the screw puller, which is perfect for that. Just pop it underneath and lift it up and wiggle it out. Great for nails as well, that. Now I just need to try and get this out because it's actually embedded. It looks like it's been varnished over as well. So I'm just going to use the pointed bit of the 5-in-1 tool. See if I can find a little spot that will let me in. There we go. It's actually not too bad. And just lift that out. And then look to maybe find something to replace that. So to strip mine down, to finish it off, I just need to get rid of the shelf. Oh, actually I've got a little catch there that goes with my clasp. That's got a couple of screws in it because I'm going to be painting this bit here. So I'll come and take that off in a second. But first of all, let's get this shelf out. Now, a lot of shelves in these, so you might have shelves in your piece, you'll find they just lift out, and you can just lift one end at a time and just bring it out on a diagonal and you'll get them out, no problem. This one's fixed in, so I'm going to have to get a little bit more forceful with it because it will be glued onto the support. Anything's a little bit resistant, we can just use the tool. And the old glue tends to crack quite nicely. I think we might take these off as well. I want to be quite careful not to gouge into the sides there. Okay, that's the rail out, the sort of support for the shelf's gone. I have caused a bit of damage here where the glue has taken the top layer of the wood off, so I'm going to fill that. The interior is being painted, so it's not a problem. And then I've also got some nice little sharp nails there, so I will grab my hammer and just hit them back through if I can. They should come out the back and then I can just pull them. If they don't, I've got some little tin snips which should allow me to take them off and leave them flat like that. And then we're ready to start prepping. That's all the doors and drawers stripped down, ready to go. And now I'm just thinking I'm going to try and remove this off the back. This feature of quite a lot of old vintage pieces was to have a little upstand, but they actually come off, it's a separate piece. And I think it's a bit more modern to remove them. Some of them are quite ornate. If you want to take yours off, you just need to look for the screws underneath here to take that off. If you want to keep it, I would still suggest you take it off because it's much easier to paint and you get a much nicer finished effect across the top than trying to paint in this gap and then paint up and over. Take it off and work on it separately.